On today's show, we're talking about how one airline is taking personalisation to new heights by moving away from traditional pricing in favour of an AI system that sets flight fares for each individual customer. Elsewhere, a federal appeals court just blocked the FTC's click to cancel rule, and WeTransfer battles backlash after users misinterpret new terms as permission for AI training. And last but not least, new research reveals that only 13% of consumers buy beauty brands because of who the founder is. What actually drives purchase? It might surprise you. Welcome to the Privacy-Led Marketing Show. I'm Kirsty.
And I'm Adelina, and we're here to talk about the latest news in marketing.
And joining us later is our own legal researcher, Barbara. Let's talk about Delta. The skies are getting their very own Ticketmaster. Delta is moving away from regular pricing in favour of an AI system that determines how much each customer is willing to pay for tickets and raises prices up accordingly. Their president even told investors that the system is already showing amazingly favourable returns. Adelina, this is a bold new approach to pricing. What do we think? Is this going to go into other industries? Is there dangers in this? What's your opinion?
It is indeed, and I think it's important to talk psychology first before even tooling like AI and this kind of capabilities. I've seen personalization, like for example, in the world of e-commerce, what kind of products you would recommend to people based on what kind of phone do they have. Is it more up level or lower level? What's the weather and so on, right? But it's one thing to be shown products that you still have a choice versus pricing personalization, which it's kind of new. I remember, for example, I used to live in Malaysia, and when the drivers there would see me as a European, they would inflate the prices. And it was so frustrating, and every time you had to negotiate and you just knew that it's unfair, versus then I moved to Singapore where the prices were 3 times higher, but I knew that that is the price and it's fair. So it's a bit of psychology there around this, and I think people are more used to negotiate to lower rather than to increase. So there is a lot of factor here in terms of what makes it feel like fair to people. So it depends what the algorithm takes into account in that regard, and it can be based on who you are, but maybe based on your behavior as well, or context and so on. So I think this really requires really proper psychological planning, and it's not just about, hey, we have this new tooling capability that allows us to do certain things. Just curious to watch how this goes. Of course, price optimization is something every company does, but the personalization of pricing, it's a whole other league.
I think what's the concern right now is it's so opaque. Like, what data are they using? And as you say, is it fair? I think people want fair prices. They don't want to pay more just because of where they're flying from or who they are. So I think that's where it gets into kind of murky territory. Do you think it could damage brands at all if they take on personalized pricing?
Wouldn't say don't go in that direction. It's just tread it carefully. That's why I'm insisting of know how your customers are thinking about this, what goes into the algorithm. Maybe you can be transparent about it and so on. It's not necessarily a do and don't. It's more the how.
Adelina, building on the idea of trust, new research suggests that consumers are buying beauty brands for performance and pricing, not actually for the celebrity name attached to the brand. So what do you think? Are we overbuying skincare for celebrities? Do we no longer trust Rihanna and Selena to sell us makeup anymore?
I think this research contradicts what I'm seeing if I enter Sephora, for example, where it's all about who's the person behind. And we all know that, I don't know, the singers are not really producing this themselves, right? There's always a company that's specialized in this. It's obviously outsourced. But yeah, being a name behind it that people know and the power that that person has to influence also the supply chain and the distribution, it's also quite important. Nevertheless, interesting. I think obviously we buy cosmetics to look better. And this is a good reminder for marketers around, it's not about what the product does, but how does it make you as a person better or smarter or faster or whatever it is. So I think nothing will take that. And then, of course, pricing also varies in importance depending on the economic situation and so on. I don't know if you heard about the lipstick theory, which is for example, even when you have crisis, people still want to have the small luxuries. Maybe they won't buy so much Ferraris or Louis Vuitton bags, but they will still buy a quality lipstick. So there is a lot that goes into this, and I think this will always be the defaults. But yeah, we live in a world where, especially in a world of social media, the names behind also kind of resonate, but ultimately it is the performance, the outcome. Like, how are you making the person better?
Were you surprised to see confidence in certain names so low, 13%? I would have thought in the influencer era, in the celebrity era, it would be much higher. Or do you think we've just moved beyond that as a society?
I am surprised, I must admit. And yes, it's potentially one of the things that it's overused, which means that also people, if you see it left and right everywhere, then it's less powerful. And it's potentially something that we used to do a lot as marketers, and now we need to rethink about this strategy. We're also seeing the wave of more customer consciousness around the quality of the products, right? Like more organic, more what's the story behind, how was it farmed, what's the distribution, and so on. So, yes, I think these two trends are kind of like re-leveling.
On the flip side, companies are now pouring billions into influencer marketing for big ROI, even seeing higher returns from TikTok and Instagram stars than from traditional advertising. But what is the big appeal? Why are we taking wellness advice from people without any qualifications? Would you buy protein from an influencer on Instagram? It seems a bit wrong. What do you think?
Actually, besides being a chief marketing officer and working in the tech world for decades now, I'm also a certified herbalist. And I have to say that there's so much regulation around this. And even if you have research papers showing that the plant has specific health benefits, it's not that easy to make those claims on your product. So a way to circumvent this for this kind of wellness products is to indeed have someone say, this product helped me with whatever, because that's a third party saying it. So yeah, it's a way to show the benefits, kind of workaround. So there is this aspect around this, but obviously also the fact that, just like we talked before, there is a lot of influencer marketing that was rising and rising over the years, especially with the rise of social media as well. Yes, I think there is kind of a need for this, but yes, how qualified are some people? Not necessarily to speak from a medical perspective and so on, but are they really seeing the effects? Do they have data to show, or it's just a paid promotion? And I think customers are becoming more and more skeptical around this. Qualitative, so subjective reviews are going to potentially have lower performance, but nothing beats if you can show data around it. And then there's like a whole other thing around how do you collect biomarkers and so on.
It comes back to trust. If the viewer believes that that person uses that product and likes it, then I guess it doesn't matter who that person is. But I think the question is, should we have tighter regulation on the types of people that sell certain products?
There is a lot of commentary around supplements, for example, being a less regulated market than it potentially should be, and that there is like a huge quality difference in products in the market. And generally, we see a lack of education of customers. And I think the good brands not only should invest in quality, but also be transparent and educate people in general so that people can make better choices with time. Then comes the question as well, you can't overwhelm them. People don't want to become now a herbalist expert themselves or something like that, right? So it's still around in marketing, the play around benefits and endorsement. But I think this has to evolve with time, especially as this kind of tactics are overused in a lot of places.
The story everyone's talking about. Did you get the email from WeTransfer? The popular file sharing app landed itself in hot water when users misinterpreted the meaning of its new terms of service. Here to talk about it from a legal standpoint is our legal researcher, Barbara. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. WeTransfer was so quick to change the clause of the terms of service, suggests that this change didn't really land well with users. The main point here is to not only inform your users that you're using AI, but why, for what purpose, and being transparent about that, open about it, and clear, I would say.
So obviously they've handled the backlash and they've decided to change their terms of service.
Yes, Kirsty. The updated clause gives WeTransfer a royalty-free license to use those uploaded contents from users to operate and improve performance of the service. And these changes are set to take effect on August 8th. But what really caused the problem was the lack of clarity on how those AI models were going to be used.
Yeah, I think that's the lesson here. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's clear. And if it's not clear, that's when you can lose the trust.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's pivot to the FTC click to cancel ruling. The court blocked it, so brands aren't going to be forced to make cancellations easier. Adelina, from a brand perspective, what is the strategic play here? Do you think we're going to see friction? Do you think we're going to see better use of UX so it's easier to cancel? Or should we accept that this is the way it is?
Regulation sometimes push for good advancements, sometimes maybe doesn't really fit with what the market needs or technology can do. But there is a core principle here around ease of use, especially in a digital world where you are bombarded with things trying to get your attention and trust, as we keep talking in this show. It's really important that you provide an ease of use experience that people can also trust that they can be with you or not be with you anytime they choose to. I'm in favor of what it's used to be called product-led growth for companies. And that means like a very smooth user experience where you make it easy to subscribe and you make it easy to unsubscribe. Ultimately, this should sit with who you are as a company, who you are as a brand. So I wouldn't say potentially like if it's not something regulated, it should still be taken into account. But this is about like how do you want to be perceived in the market? And sometimes we need to understand that some things are not even going to be differentiators. They can be just table stakes. It's the new expectation that people have, almost like a must-have.
So maybe this isn't a question of legality. It's maybe an opportunity for brands to improve things like UX design.
Yeah, we see the rise of user shoppers and so on wanting to be more and more in control, especially in the digital world. We see this in data privacy, we see it in user experience, and potentially many other places. So as long as we give this control to people, they are going to respond with the potential increase in trust. However, as I said, it's not necessarily a differentiator in some cases. It could be just table stakes. It's what people expect.
And I think the expectations are there that it should be a smooth experience. And
Yeah.
if you provide that, then you've already got the trust and loyalty, and the rest is hopefully smooth sailing.
I think as marketers, we need to understand that whatever you did even 5 years ago is not necessarily going to work again. Not only because your industry is changing and so on, but consumers' trends are changing over the years. And you need to keep up with like what's their new interest, what are they fed up about. The world is evolving. We can't keep doing the same things.
Truly. And actually, sometimes if the legal system's getting involved, you're already behind because they're going to flag up things way later than marketers are already thinking about.
Yes. I would love to see marketers driving more the innovation, influencing the products that are in the market around this, because generally they are at least the early adopters, if not the innovators. Marketers have always been looking for the next tool, the next channel, the next tactic, and so on. And now we have plenty of this, especially with AI and so on. But it's very important that we also go back to the foundations, to strategy, to customer relationships and all these things.
Super interesting. I think it's an opportunity for marketers to look at what they're doing and not to make judges force them to do things.
The question is, how many times as marketers do we stop and think rather than just keep going and adding more and adding more? You really need to take a bit things into perspective, invest much more in understanding the market, trends, and all these kind of things. And then also like how you understand the data about your own customers. It's super important.
That's key. Simplify compliance with our Google Certified Consent Management platform. It aligns with your brand, supports 60+ languages, and manages settings across all devices. This ensures consistent user experience and meets global privacy laws and ad tech needs, making privacy a strategic ally. So this is quite a future-looking episode. We've talked about pricing strategies, brand with regards to influencers and celebrities. I mean, we're moving at such a speed. What do you think is coming next?
In the world of marketing, there will always be a next thing. I mean, we thrive on finding what's new so that it's not an overused channel already and stuff like that. This is what marketers get good at over the years. I kept insisting as well that we need a strategy and not just like jump on the next new shiny thing. The main part I would like to transmit today is that for marketers to take into account that they should have more ownership than they are used to. That they take what is a brand, what is the brand standing for, and how does that transmit everywhere. And that is in pricing that we discuss now with personalized pricing, that is in their data privacy tactics and documents and so on. They need to control the entire journey. Like they own the customer journey everywhere in your website, in your app, before and after, and so on, their data relationship, all this kind of thing. So it's just putting that hat of like, we own this. Some things won't lie on the legal teams or product teams. You need to connect all the dots as a marketer. So even if there are different teams working on it, you need to be able to connect the dots and be the customer advocate and make sure that the journey is consistent.
And see the big picture.
Exactly. Now, how many of us do this in a world where, like we all have specializations and everything is like kind of siloed in different companies? That's a good question. But this is something I would advocate, to get that ownership and to truly arrange like what are all the steps, all the interactions with customer journeys.
And is there any trends you're seeing that you're bored of, we can move past it?
I mean, a lot of things I'm saying like, oh my God, I heard this over and over again, but maybe that's because we are in this bubble, right? Like for other people, it might be just, oh, that's new, that's interesting. AI, I think it's now like a very big topic, but also AI, it's evolving really fast. So like, what are the capabilities, best practices, and so on? It's something to keep an eye on.
I mean, this is a good time to take stock. We've got the summer holidays coming up. Everyone's got a little bit more time. So as you say, it's the time for marketers to stop, think, and get that strategy together.
Get the strategy book over the summer in between your swims.
Exactly. Back to basics and then come back refreshed.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Adelina.
Thank you, Kirsty. Very interesting conversation as always.
Thank you. And that's all we've got time for today. But if you want to check out any of our previous episodes, make sure to look through the channel. We'll be back very soon. And if you've got any comments, leave them below. And don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.